Is this the start of the bear market, or has it come prematurely? The flash crash has got everyone watching the entire crypto market closely, and only those with diamond hands will have the guts to ride out this consolidation period. Hello viewers, and welcome back to another episode of our Crypto News Roundup. We are on episode 8, and as usual, I'm joined with the blockchain expert Dr. Vin Menon from the CGCX group. I'm Mrs. Lilac, and this week has been a real mixed bag for crypto.
Yes, indeed, Lilac. Thank you for the introduction. So, apart from the crazy news, which is our crypto market crashing and nosediving, there is some very exciting news for us to share with the viewers. So, the world's first fully insured crypto exchange, which is called CGCX.io, who I am personally involved as a co-founder of the business, is merging with a Magic Wheels Corp, which is a Nasdaq OTC listed company, for a deal value of around 150 million US dollar. Something very excited about.
Congratulations, Vin, and I wish you all the best for your merger as you enter the Nasdaq markets.
Thank you. And now let's talk about what's on everyone's mind. Is this a bear market, a beginning of bear market, or a classic market manipulation and a market correction?
As we enter into a downward trend on crypto, I want to point out some reasons to explain this Bitcoin flash crash. Options and futures expirations the last few days before the end of the quarter, and Elon Musk's tweets that did not bode so well for Bitcoin, China banning cryptocurrencies, inducing a massive sell-off, whales moving, and America with their tax season are just some of the reasons for this flash crash. I don't believe this is the start of the bear market just yet. However, we do need to get back to some very classic crypto basics like hodling the dips. Bitcoin crashed all the way down to 30,000 and quickly rebounded to 40,000, and while this turned out to be a flash crash, billions of dollars in market value has already been lost. I know this wasn't entirely due to one reason, as I mentioned before, but what do you think of Elon's influence and China's dominance, especially now that they have CBDCs?
When a person like Mr. Musk tweets something about a new industry or a new trade, inexperienced traders or inexperienced people in crypto tend to sell off, panic sell. So that is normal with each and every industry. But experienced people, or me personally, I consider myself as a little bit experienced in trading, we are looking at buying more to hold, and this is an opportunity, and the dip is an opportunity for us to buy and hold.
A similar sell-off triggered the 2018 burst. Why is this time any different from 3 years ago?
If you look at the current situation, institutional investors are trying to buy in more and holding, and they are also taking some positions when it is on the dip. So, like any other asset classes, you have to be very careful. If the moment you start leveraging this, and some of the crypto investors, I am seeing that leveraging up to 100%. And that I would say that it's a pure gamble. Day traders and gamblers, crypto is not the place for them. The nosedive and crash, a flash crash, is normal, and we have seen that during 2018. We have seen that during 2021, I would say, and it is been happening every halving and couple of years after. This trend is been continuously happening. So the guys who are actually holding and looking at a long-term view, this is the best way to go with. So for crypto, my personal suggestion would be, let's not get into the leveraging game, but let's get into the stored value holding games.
Now moving on to other news, it appears that NVIDIA, one of the largest graphic card producers, has included some sort of mining restriction in its GeForce line of graphic cards. NVIDIA GPUs are programmable to do different sorts of things, including weather simulation, gene sequencing, deep learning, robotics, and most importantly, mining cryptocurrencies. With the silicon shortage caused due to supply chain disruptions, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, graphic cards are pretty hard to come by today. Along with this, we saw a massive increase in the popularity of crypto and crypto mining. In extension, the demand for graphic cards increased exponentially while the supply remained short. This meant that prices for graphic cards increased threefold, making it extremely hard for gamers to get their hands on one. Nvidia just picked sides, the side of the majority of their customer base, the gamers.
So for mining industry or crypto mining industry, there are two ways which is actually happening. One, ASIC based programmable devices. Second, graphic processing units or GPUs mining proof of work based coins. So both having different kind of hash rates, and both are having different kind of strategies. So for Bitcoin, it's always ASICs, but at the same time, Ethereum or any other proof of work coins, which is always the GPUs. Now, if you look at it, major manufacturers of GPU, one is AMD and second one is Nvidia. Both of them are creating GPU for the graphic controller cards. But our crypto miners are constantly using the graphic controller cards, which is considered as highest performing GPUs, using for mining of other hashes. Primarily, they're using the processing power to use the hash rate to mine more coins like Ethereum or any of that. Ethereum Classic is one of the classic example of mining using GPUs. Now, what Nvidia said that they have identified that the GPUs are being used extensively by the mining operations, and that is creating a lot of unwanted warranty claims. So Nvidia published few weeks back saying that there is no more warranty for the mining GPUs, and that way, and also they have started controlling the hash rates on each and every GPU so that it is not maximizing the mining part of the hash rate. So yes, manufacturer really understand this situation, and they just want to make sure that this is not misused or overly used.
And with reports suggesting Ethereum will use 99.95 less energy post-transition to the proof-of-stake model.
One of the major arguments which we have between Ethereum and Bitcoin is consumption of energy. Bitcoin has always been notorious for consuming highest level of energy at all times, but Ethereum is also, in the current mode, Ethereum is also consuming quite a lot of energy. But Ethereum 2.0, which is proof of stake, once that is rolled out, we are talking about roughly close to 5.13 gigawatt of energy is consumed by Ethereum. But once it is moved to 2.0, we are talking about 0.26 gigawatt. That is roughly around 2000 times saving in the energy use.
They use a very interesting analogy to visualize how big of a problem energy consumption is. The blog compares Bitcoin's energy consumption to the Burj Khalifa, about 830 meters long, while Ethereum's proof of work to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a comparatively less 57 meters. With the transition to the proof-of-stake model, Ethereum's estimated energy consumption can be compared to the length of a screwdriver. Not only is this a testament to how much energy is actually being used, but how much energy can be saved by moving to a more efficient system. That begs another question, doesn't it? How was Elon not aware of the energy consumption issue before Tesla began to accept Bitcoin for transactions in the first place?
Well, I personally tried to believe that Elon was not knowing about the energy consumption of the Bitcoin before he started accepting. But of course, at least at some point of time, he took that initiative to reverse back the major announcement. And we all know that such an announcement from a global listed company doesn't look good to their books or the chief or the people who are running the business. However, now they are trying to impose some other cryptocurrencies, which is Doge, which is considered as a fraction of energy consumption for mining or for transacting compared to Bitcoin. These rollbacks are not widely accepted by the crypto market, by the capital market, or by the Wall Street.
In other news, the much-awaited parachains of the Polkadot network are all set to go live. Kusama, Polkadot's experimental network, just went live with its very first parachain, indicating that Polkadot's vision is very much on course to becoming real. While this was all theoretical knowledge so far, with the launch of its first parachain on Kusama, this is actually coming to fruition. Kusama is the sister network built on almost the same code base as Polkadot, serving as a testbed of the development team tests new features before actually being deployed on the Polkadot network.
Those who are not aware of what is Polkadot, Polkadot is a project dubbed as Internet of the Blockchain. The concept is very simple and very similar to an internet. You have a core network which is called relay chain, and you have side chains or side blockchains which is considered as parachain. So there are a lot of testing and applications are generally developing between side chain as well as the relay chain, and Polkadot is actually going to grow in this fashion, and let's assume that this is going to be a successful model, so we will be able to see blockchain as the next biggest internet. So here there is one more layer to it, which is on top of the internet layer there is a blockchain layer which is building up, and there are a lot of people started developing a lot of different apps on top of that, and which is actually called blockchain networks. We have something called mobile virtual network enabler and mobile virtual network operator. So that is actually the small organizations who lease the bandwidth from a typical mobile operator and distribute retail with different schemes, different campaigns. The same way, after the bandwidth is been identified, then there is a blockchain based network which is going to build up on top of it, and Polkadot is actually going to make that happen very soon. Once that is happened, probably we will be able to see blockchain virtual network enablers and blockchain virtual network operators who is actually running data for blockchain in communities. And I know personally there are some of my friends who is actually working in this project, and stay tuned for more information I will be publishing here.
And for our last news of the day, Bitcoin has been associated with yet another criminal activity this week with DarkSide. The Colonial Pipeline hacker is gaining over 90 million through ransomware. 99 organizations were infected with DarkSide's ransomware software, and 47 payments worth of over 90 million US dollars made to DarkSide affiliate Bitcoin wallets.
Cryptocurrencies have always been in the news for wrong reasons too, and what people must claim is because of the anonymity by Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But if you look at it, when we are comparing with a banking system as well as a crypto system, there are more illegitimate and illicit activities happening there. So in terms of cryptocurrencies, comparing between Bitcoin, Ethereum versus privacy coins can be much more exposed to such illegitimate activities compared to even Bitcoin or Ethereum.
As I've mentioned before at the very beginning of this episode, this week has definitely been a mixed bag for crypto, and I'm hoping that we bring on better news for you in our next episode of our Crypto News Roundup. Until then, it's Mrs. Lilac and Dr. Vin Menon. We're signing out. We'll see you again next week.